Last week, we talked about the ministry of Jesus and the significance of the ministry of Jesus and how he represents a multitude of things when it comes to this Moorish Divine and National movement. He represents, of course, redemption.
That's right.
He represents love. But significantly, we wanted to point out that he represented the resurrection. And when I mention the resurrection, we talk about it in the context of our state of being quote unquote Negroes, blacks, African Americans, so on and so forth. Because without an example of resurrection from death, then we may have a difficulty grasping the concept of what it means to establish a nationality.
That's right.
Because our prophet teaches us that black, according to science, means death. So if in our current state we are dead, we are considered undesirables, how are we to understand the full concept of what it means to raise ourselves up to a level of being in the affairs of men, of having a nationality, of having a political status that is that has some importance? Islam? We better understand that by way of our prophet Jesus alayhi salam, to where he demonstrated the concept of resurrection, saying that even though his hands were tattered,
Right.
whether his side was punctured, and whether he was buried, he was put on a cross, and he was said to be dead, he resurrected.
That's right.
He said that when love is present, resurrection is a fact.
That's right. No.
He proves to be the representation of Allah, of the perfect man, of the spirit of Allah, of man reaching that deific life.
That's right.
And that deific life is a symbol of what we strive to be as Moorish Americans on this plane of manifest. How we look to be a raising standard, a holy standard, a righteous standard, if you will, in regards to how we conduct our day-to-day lives. Islam? So, what I want to do is draw from Quran questions. Key 12, what is our nationality? Key 13, what is our nationality? Moorish American. Key 14, why are we Moorish Americans? Islam. So, with that, I'm going to also draw from an article in our Moorish literature entitled "A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations." Does anyone have? Do you have a copy?
What's that?
Moorish literature. Okay. All right. For those who do not have a copy, we should be ordering copies soon. So please listen carefully to the words of our prophet as we will dissect it in the simplest form and get a better understanding of this Moorish Divine and National movement. Islam?
Islam.
A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. Islam?
Islam.
What I want us to remember those who are familiar with the Prophet and the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and those who are being introduced to the Prophet, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and this Moorish Divine and National Movement. Remember that this institution, the Moorish Science Temple of America, is just that. It's an organization. And it's an organization that is designed to put us in the proper context in regards to our citizenship and our nationality in America.
Islam.
Islam?
Yeah.
So the question arises is, why nationality? Why is nationality truly important? What difference would it make if I was to have a nationality versus me not having a nationality? What will change? What will remain the same? Now, nationality is defined as that quality of character which arises from a person belonging to a nation or state.
Islam.
Simply put, nationality also defines your status nationally.
That's right.
So the question is, what is our status being under the title of Negro, Black, Colored, African American? See, there's no difference between the term Negro, what our ancestors were called back in the early 1600s, even back before that, around 1492.
Islam.
1610, if we talk about the first quote-unquote slaves, chattel slaves that arrived in Virginia. When we talk about the Negro, we're talking about the European being able to reduce who we are to an object. Because that's what he did.
That's right.
He took you, a human being, created by Allah, that has your own, that has a life, that has the spirit in Allah within you.
Right.
And he took your body, he took your spirit, he took your mind, and he reduced it to an object.
That's right.
That's how he was able to own you.
Islam.
Because he, what the Prophet called European psychology, by way of European psychology, he was able to make you think that you were an object, that you were property to be owned.
That's right.
No man, and when I say man, I mean woman as well. No man, woman, or child even is not meant to, is meant to be property.
That's right.
It's meant to be owned by another man.
Islam.
All right? So when we think about the concept of being black, again, he reduced you to an object. And that legacy has carried on even to today when we consider ourselves to be quote-unquote black people.
That's right.
Because when we call ourselves black, we're only saying it's the American version of being a Negro.
Islam. That's right.
When we look at the meaning or the etymology behind the word Negro, we know that it comes from the Greek word necro, meaning dead.
Right.
And we all know by the teachings of our prophet, death is no enemy to man.
Islam.
But we have to understand that, again, nationality determines your political status. It determines your state in the place where you're domiciled.
That's right.
So if the state where your political state or your political status is that of a dead person, that of a person that cannot rise beyond being property, then what stake do you have in the affairs of men?
Right.
How can you involve yourself in the affairs of men?
Islam.
How can that chair make a decision as to who gets put in office? Whether or not you get a good education, whether or not we can clean up these streets. Because that's what you're reduced to. You're reduced down to that chair.
Islam.
That black hat that's on the brother's knee right there.
Islam.
This black fez that the lieutenant grand governor is wearing. He owns that.
That's right.
That is his. That belongs to him.
Islam.
And when you're under the status of black, that means you belong to somebody.
Islam.
Now, when we talk about who we belong to, for the sake of time, it doesn't matter. Because we shouldn't belong to anyone. If anything, we should be servants to Allah. Islam?
Islam.
So when we talk about, okay, well, I'm not black, I'm African American. Well, what's your political status of being African American? Because the only thing you're telling them is that you were born in Africa, that your descendants are Africans, but you were born in America. But what water does that hold? What part of America? I mean, what part of Africa?
Right.
That's the question.
Islam.
Distinctively, what part? Are you the part that's still considered to be a slave? Because we had slaves in Africa, for those who don't know.
Islam.
We had chattel property, for those who don't know. So again, what part? Because we're not talking about breeds here. We're not talking about animals. We're not talking about African terrier or African bulldog, that there is such a thing. We're talking about someone that has a political status that's able to contribute genuinely to society. Contribute as a collective to society.
That's right.
Because that's the importance of a nationality. Being able to first contribute to the perseverance of your own people and then contribute to society.
Islam.
Because under the names of Negro, Black, and Colored, and African American, and so on and so forth, you're only contributing to your demise.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
Not only are you contributing to your demise internally, but externally. Because those that recognize you by the way you recognize yourself are going to treat you how you treat yourself.
Islam.
Think about how we treat our brothers and our sisters out here on the streets. Think about how we treat our children. Think about how we treat our elders. Other nationalities look at that and they say, well, if they treat themselves less than, then why should I treat them greater?
That's right.
So the question again is, why nationality? Because I guarantee you that if you go up to a Chinese American, if you go up to a Jewish American, if you go to any other nationality that is born in America, that has been born in America, and you treat their parents or their loved ones one way, they're going to come down on you so hard you never wish they had, that you have.
That's right.
Protection. Protection from the things, or protections from from the things that will cause abuse to your well-being.
Right.
That is the importance of a nationality. But the key is doing it together.
That's it.
That's why the Prophet gives us that demonstration of unity.
Islam.
Because regardless if I call myself a Moorish American or otherwise, if I don't have a mass or a group of other people that say that they're Moorish American, we all have that same mindset, it is for naught.
That's right.
I might as well be a Negro with a face.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
We're going to continue on. It says, I, the Prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings.
Islam.
They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls
Islam.
under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege that has been the existing condition for many generations.
Islam.
Islam? The Moorish Science Temple of America is an institution that cultivates Moorish Americans.
That's right.
I'm going to say it again.
That's right.
The Moorish Science Temple of America is an institution that cultivates Moorish Americans.
Teaching.
The Moorish Science Temple of America is not your nationality, but it develops your nationality.
That's right.
And it develops the nationality by way of the members that are a part and a partial.
Islam.
So if you are a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America and not attending your meetings, not adhering to Act 7,
Come on.
then how are you pushing this Moorish Divine and National movement?
Right.
How are you promoting your nationality?
Mm-hmm.
Because see, the key is, how are we to define ourselves if we are doing it in a scantily way?
That's right, bro.
Because that is the key. That is the purpose. That is the ideal, to continue to perpetuate the concept that we, as Moorish Americans, have the right to self-define.
That's right. Islam.
So if we are taking advantage of that right,
Mm-hmm.
if we are abusing that right, then again, this institution will suffer. And if the institution suffers, then your children will suffer.
Islam.
And your children's children will suffer. And so on and so forth. And we will continue on this vicious cycle that has been going on for over 400 years.
That's right.
The prophet goes on by saying, "You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into the light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation.
Islam.
The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver, and commerce belong to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all the support from all true American citizens of the United States of America.
Islam.
Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America."
Islam.
For those of you all that have any doubt, you are an American. Whether you are a card-carrying member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, or you were born in America and you are a visitor or a sympathizer of this Moorish Divine and National movement, you are an American. Therefore, you have rights for American citizens. Islam?
Islam.
But how do you get those rights? How does a property get rights? How does property incur gold and silver and estate and land? Because all of those are considered property. So property can't own property. It doesn't work like that.
That's right.
So Prophet Noble Drew Ali is saying that this movement is for the purpose of raising our people up, is removing the status of Negro, Black, and color and putting us back into our proper context. It's putting us back into the constitutional fold. Because with us being American citizens, it is our responsibility to adhere to not only the Constitution of this United States of America, but the Constitution and bylaws of this Moorish Divine and National movement,
Praise Allah.
which encompasses the Constitution of the United States of America.
Islam.
So you can't have one without the other.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
Prophet says, go to City Hall and ask in an intelligent tone.
Mm-hmm. right.
He said, ask the lawgivers. Because they know the importance of a status.
Mm-hmm.
They know the importance of a quality of character. Because that's how you develop your status.
That's right.
So again, it's how we do it as a collective.
That's right.
When you think of Moorish American, you shouldn't be thinking about, oh, these are the brothers that don't have any driver's license. Or these are the brothers and sisters that drive around with no license plates, that have paperwork on top of paperwork and trying to check the judge on, talking about jurisdiction.
Islam.
Moorish Americans are law-abiding citizens.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
It is important for us to remember who we are, because that defines who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We can no longer stand aside while those who are said to be Moorish Americans continue to abuse and take advantage and juxtapose the words of our prophet.
That's right.
Those Islam.
Islam.
I love my people and desire their unity and come back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national constitution, the national and constitutional laws of their government.
That's right.
By claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional.
That's right.
What is a constitution? The key word of constitution is to constitute.
That's right.
And when you constitute, what you're saying is basically it is a conjunction, or it is a binding force.
Mm-hmm.
It's a binding document.
That's right.
It is a covenant.
Mm-hmm.
All nations have covenants.
That's
All nations have a constitution.
That's right.
So it is a sad, sad thing when those that are considered themselves to be Negroes, black, colors, etc., not only do they not adhere, they don't even adhere to the Constitution.
That's right.
So they're not bound by anything. So how is it that people that are proclaimed citizens, that are proud citizens of this United States of America, how are they to look at a people that don't even honor the Constitution where they're domiciled? So what are you bound to?
Islam.
That's another purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America,
Mm-hmm.
because it bounds our people together.
That's right. Read on them all.
Islam?
Islam.
In all other governments, when man is born and raised, there and asks for his free national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles,
Islam.
because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your free national descent name.
Islam.
So not only are you American, but you are Moorish American,
That's right.
because that is the descent of our foremothers and our forefathers.
Mm-hmm.
We are descendants of Moroccans born in America. We come from a mighty, mighty empire that still thrives today. That Moorish empire is not dead, because if the Moorish empire was dead, then we would be demised. We would be dead. Islam?
Islam.
It still lives on. But we have to channel that. We have to call on that holy breath. We have to call on that saving power. Because we all are looking, we all are in some shape or form looking for redemption. We're looking for a savior, but that savior is within.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam. That's right.
I'm going to jump down from, no, I'll address it. It says the word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color, which deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, or dyed. So again, he's talking about these are principles to elements that are considered property. You are not painted, stained, or dyed, or varnished.
Islam.
Again, those are attributes of an object.
That's right.
Again, that chair is painted.
Mm-hmm.
That book, that brown book, is stained or dyed.
Islam.
But we are created. Islam?
Islam.
And every nation must bear a free national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring their forefathers and their foremothers your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth and are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and the 15th Amendments, brought by the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power within the constitutional body of power. And in that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law was enforced, since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
So what is our prophet saying? Our prophet was saying that during the Civil War, the South had removed themselves. They had seceded. So in that, there's a message for those that ponder, because when we think about Moorish American, when we think about being a quote unquote free national or removing ourselves from the government, that's seceding.
That's right.
And history tells us what happens when you look to secede from a union.
Islam, TC.
So what ended up happening is, because they seceded from the government, the contract was broken, the Constitution was broken, the covenant was broken.
That's right. Islam.
So something had to be put in place to put those that were removed from the government back into the constitutional fold. Islam?
Islam.
But the key is that it was only supposed to be temporary, because as the prophet said, by that constitution, all men that are born in these United States of America, that are born from Allah, are considered free.
That's right.
And they have rights. They have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Islam?
Islam.
Our salvation of our people lie within ourselves, within the power of ourselves.
Islam. Praise Allah.
So again, the prophet says, so there isn't but one supreme issue for my people, to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements.
Islam.
When the lion and the lamb can lay down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world.
Islam.
But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and by my people in this government, the worst is yet to come.
Islam.
The worst is already here.
That's right.
Can you not see it, family?
Islam.
We're out here in the cares of the world. And the cares of the world, by way of our Quran questions, is represented by the water. So these waters right now are crashing and waving. They are unsettling. These tsunamis and all this other stuff.
That's right.
How are we to survive out in the cares of the world without each other?
Islam.
Islam?
Peaceful.
Because the great God Allah of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc.
Islam.
What is the purpose of a prophet? To save the nations from the wrath of Allah. We will receive the prophet.
Islam.
And that prophet carried on the age-old message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Praise Allah.
Of working together in unity.
Islam.
Of raising ourselves to standards that are godly.
That's right.
Because we all are gods. We are children of the Most High Allah.
Islam.
We are all are capable of resurrection. We all are capable of mighty things.
Islam.
But do you believe that? Do you have faith in that? Or are you still in that faith of that step of belief? Or are you still in that degree of belief? You perhaps think that it's true.
Islam.
Perhaps.
That's right.
It's a slight possibility. It may work. If it don't work, I always got this over here.
Right.
We need faithful
That's right.
We need that mu'minun.
Islam.
We need those that are tried and true, upright, independent, and fearless.
Islam.
So on and so forth. Islam?
Islam.
And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws through the help of such classes of citizens.
Islam.
I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them.
Islam.
The prophet uses that degree of belief
That's right.
because he believes, he thinks perhaps there will come a time where people will see the light.
Right.
They will be the light, therefore they'll be able to reveal the light.
That's right.
They will be able to come together as a power and change those ethers and make their conditions better.
Islam.
That's what he believes.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can see it. He can see the potential in he saw the potential in his members back then, and I see the potential in the members and in those that are interested in this Moorish divine and national movement today.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
When we talk about things that we have demonstrated throughout the 400 years of being, under European psychology, we have to think about how has that benefited us in any way. Has that benefited us, or has that done more hurt than harm? We look at it on the surface, and we look at these, these privileges and certain things that are allotted to us. But those things are temporary.
That's right.
Because those things were not produced by us.
Islam.
Those things were not produced in the account that we will be able to stand on our own 2 feet one day. Therefore, those things are not in our best interest.
Islam.
We have to come in the state of mind. We have to become industrious. So again, part of that defining who we are is thinking about what is in our best interest. Each and every one of us has a talent. Each and every one of us is able to contribute to this Moorish divine and national movement.
Islam.
And if you all have a doubt, just think about what's needed in this Moorish divine and national movement. And after you think about what's needed, do it. Islam?
Islam.
So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America. Because they know it is not the true and divine way. Without the understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically,
Right.
etc., in their present condition. How are we looked upon in the world? How does the world view us? Like, genuinely, how do they view us? I know we're pretty cold-blooded with the hip-hop music and the basketball and those other things, but outside of that, how does the world as a whole view us? They look at TV. We're not the only ones look at TV. You have other people around the world that look at TV. So how are we being portrayed? How are we being represented? How are we being defined?
That's right. Right. Not good.
Islam?
Islam. Not a people.
In their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon the civilized world. As much as we want to force hip-hop among the community, among the masses, that is not going to give us but so much political power.
That's right.
That provides us so much economic power. I know a lot of us, in our minds think that we're pretty cold-blooded on the mic. But, it's few and far between. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism,
Right.
segregation, and everything that brings them harm to human beings on the earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses.
That's right.
But I have traveled in the South, and I have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life.
That's right.
And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness and into the marvelous light. Islam?
Praise the Lord.
We, as Moorish Americans, must continue to define who we are. That is the Moorish Divine and National Movement.
Islam.
Our standards we should hold dear.
That's right.
Our standards and our principles should be the thing that we live according to every waking moment of our lives. To the point that we should be thinking before we speak. We should be proactive instead of reactive. Islam?
Islam.
And our people have suffered for so long on account of being reactive, have being impulsive, thinking with our emotions and not rational.
Right.
As a collective, it is important for us to perpetuate this Moorish Divine and National Movement. It is important for us to continue the works of our prophet by way of our thoughts, works, and deeds. Islam? And with that, I leave you as I came, but before I yield the floor to our next speaker, welcome everyone. Those who have their first time here in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Our prophet is a wonderful prophet. He was sent to us. He was born on these shores. Therefore, he has more than an idea of what the condition is of our people.
That's right.
All right? Our prophet says that sin is anything that alludes to slavery. So anything that we're doing that is enslaving ourselves, that is keeping us bound by a group of people or bound by those that don't have our best interests in mind, is considered slavery. That is considered sin.
That's right.
Islam? So, again, with that, I leave as I came. Spirit of love, peace, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.